people at the same time.
That's true. God, you just won't pick. I see how it is. All right, well, you're going to have to pick one here. HuT versus VortiX. English Mirror. Does someone in your eyes have an edge? Because we talked about the playstyles at the beginning. And what you highlight about VortiX seemed like a good match for HuT. Came to fruition in that matchup with the Abbasids. Do you think that VortiX, who of course is a veteran when it comes to playing the English, I think he's one of the most consistent people in the top 10 to play it, do you think he has an edge over HuT here as well?
I think VortiX, he's not doing random builds. Like, his builds are all tested. And I think the same thing about HuT as well. So if HuT is going for a dog first, that means that he has tested being man at arm rust. But
So,
VortiX man at arm pressure is gonna hit really, really early, like really, really early.
so you're saying HuT's screwed? Got spotted straight away. Like, there was no... It was an insta dart across. VortiX already had a feel it was coming. I mean, you have to scout there straight away when you go for the Rax play anyway, so... I think HuT knows that this is going to be quite the waste. Oy, oy, oy.
Yeah, he's gathering good. He's making a fishing boat as well. I don't see a way that he can stop those men at arms from killing the dog.
You could try and go Rax and start now yourself, but like the issue is you've already got sucked into the Cyclone where you're going to be defending your docks, which means that probably in the next 2 or 3 minutes, VortiX can sneak out and get his own dock down while harassing you.
Like, the moment he stops the dog, the moment he kills the dog, like, there's no way you make a dog, one fishing boat, and you can make up that wood into food. There's like no way. So you have to make your own barrack. Now the thing is, can you have enough men at arms to make sure that your opponent doesn't kill the dogs? I'm not sure about that.
I mean, they hit for nothing. I call them baby arms at this stage. They then become boy arms. But they start with plastic swords, they get wood swords, and when they can be trusted, they actually get a real sword. But at this stage, I think they hit for 8 damage, if I recall correctly. Then we've got to remember that they've got a decent amount of melee armor, so you're not really doing much against a unit that has 100 health at this stage.
VortiX losing one of his scouts, that would be such an... that scout should have been attacking the dog. Right now, you know your opponent is making men at arms, so you need to kill that dog as fast as possible, and that will give you the edge in the men at arm numbers.
Yeah. And you have to keep in mind, HuT does have a lot of sheep, so he has a way of building enough men at arms to respond. The problem is, VortiX doesn't seem to be letting up, and if he just gets up to, say, 6 men at arms and stops, it doesn't matter if HuT can go up to 15 MAA. The dock is going to be burnt. He won't be able to stop that.
One of the key things is that you cannot make more than 5 men at arms. So if he manages to make 5 men at arms and then pushes VortiX 5 men at arms, he might even save the dog.
Here he's coming.
I said earlier that HuT might have tested this and he might be able to hold, but it looks that.
Wait, the village? Okay, they're not even going to try to protect the dock. And now the man at arms, remember, they can just go after the villagers. The villagers do not have any armor, so they're much easier to take down. Half the HP pool of an MAA. Like you said, you know, you felt like they tested these timings on both sides. It just feels like HuT, he blinked first, and this is one of those risky situations. You know, it kind of reminds me of how Mongols would work on hybrid maps, where, you know, if someone goes Uvu and someone doesn't, well, then they're clearly going to get river control ahead of you. That's very difficult to come back against. Wait, really? He will go down for that. But this is just idle time. I mean, you still feel good about this with your VortiX. Like, you're losing the MAA, but you forced HuT to build this many, and also he's now got 5 villagers idling that aren't rebuilding the dock.
This is such an interesting thing to see, though, because this type of situation, it's something that you very, very rarely see in your games. And so how they choose to micro this specific fight, it's something that you think on the box, and you don't know what is like the best. Is it the best to send 1 man at arms to hunt down the villagers and then your man at arms to attack your opponent man at arms? Do you go for the villagers instantly? This is such an interesting thing to see. Them choosing how to use those few units that they have because it's something that they obviously haven't practiced before.
Yeah, and you can see the thing that works out well for VortiX is more these villagers like get picked off, have to run back. Formation shuffling becomes less of a thing. It's even easier to kind of whittle away at them. And I definitely think that's a cool thing that you highlight there, because VortiX, I always kind of say he's like one of the micro gods. He's one of the guys to watch. He's always looking for you to not be paying attention because maybe you've gone back to look at your TC to click some more villagers, and he'll just try to leverage that to aggro you out of position. Well, as a result, at the end of that, VortiX is the one still blocking the dock. Now HuT with the double down. 7 villagers are coming out this time. They want to get it up.
And also, now, will VortiX decide to make more Men-at-Arms?
It looks like he is. I'm kind of surprised he didn't go back in there. I guess he wants to keep the mass lead compared to HuT.
It's kind of funny because if VortiX knew that HuT was going to commit so heavily into this, and he decided to not go for a dock but start gathering gold, he would have enough Men-at-Arms to actually push off those villagers, and that would make it an instant good game.
And instead, now HuT looks like he's getting cheeky. It seems he wants to sneak an outpost. And what? Okay, so you've gone from recovery to Game of Throws now. If VortiX reacts to that, that's 5 villagers that are probably going to die.
Did he react though? Yeah, he did.
Yeah, he did. He wants to go after the dock, and he's just going to get the new Men-at-Arms to go after the villagers. And HuT, I mean, remember how long it now takes to build outposts. You're not going to be safe for quite a while, even against plastic swords.
Maybe HuT didn't expect extra Men-at-Arms to be trained by VortiX. I think maybe that's why he decided to do this.
I feel like at this stage, you expect Men-at-Arms to always be produced by VortiX.
Not really. Like some people, when they get an advantage, they
They'll
don't
stop.
try to push for it, right? They try to just maintain that advantage. VortiX is right now found an opportunity and he's pushing for it. But a lot of people would have taken down the dog, made themselves a dog, and be like, this guy had 5 idle villagers for so long, so I'm ahead.
Yeah, I
instead
get what you mean. It was the classic, but I think it's the way that AOE4 always used to be played, right? Where it was this, oh, I forced him to do something, I'm going to go back and get something greedy in return. But we've noticed people are a lot more aggressive, and if you needed any sign of that, like we're 7.5 minutes into the game, and it doesn't look like either person is going to reach feudal soon. Oy, oy, oy. So was that 3 villages? I think it's, yeah, 3 going down in the end. HuT is now 5 eco units behind. His dock is at least still operational, but that could change at any moment considering VortiX now has double the amount of Men-at-Arms in the field.
Yeah, and HuT is making up for the lack of villagers by making a second dock. He wants to keep making those fishing boats. But VortiX is going into the second aids, and a few longbows and a galley can be rough.
Well, the good news, at least for HuT, is he has plenty of gold if he gets condensed into his base to reach feudal himself. The bad news, of course, is you don't really want to invest several villagers to rush it up because that might sacrifice galley timings on arrival. So looks like VortiX at this rate could easily be 2, possibly 3 galleys ahead of HuT when we turn over to naval warfare, which is likely to be the case in the next 2 minutes, if HuT even has a dock by then.
Exactly, that's what I wanted to add. Like, there's 10 Men-at-Arms on the field, right? Against 6, he can easily take down the docks.
Not to mention the fact that once that tech up comes out, HuT can't even try to contest because the early Man-at-Arms upgrade doesn't take very long to kick in, and it's incredibly cheap.
There's only one Civ that can counter this early Men-at-Arm pressure from the English.
Is it the English?
There's 2. I can counter this early Men-at-Arm push by the English.
All right, lay it on me. What's the other one?
Friends, by not going water instantly, making a knight and then going water.
That's fair. And before anyone kind of gets this feeling like, oh, the English are OP, broken, please nerf, in fairness, they do have downsides. One thing to note of that kind of French matchup you just mentioned, the English can't build spears until they go feudal. So if you're all in on Dark Age, there are weaknesses. There are points where you can fall. We've actually seen, if people are able to crack their feudal, Horseman becomes a pretty respectable solution to these very slow and not as tanky as they first seem Vanguard Men-at-Arms.
I think Men-at-Arms should have 1 less melee armor in the Dark Age, so that they can be dealt with a number of spears and horsemen, because right now, by giving them +1 on melee and pierce, they are actually pretty much uncounterable in Dark Age.
And it's super because they look so clumsy when they clash, right? But like I think that's the thing. It's very deceptive because you watch a knight, you're like, that thing looks broken. Look how quickly it kills units. Men at arms, like what you're highlighting here, is you just can't trade efficiently. So even if you don't necessarily lose the villagers in these fights, they're going to be idle. They can't do what they want to do. And I definitely agree. I think the ranged armor buff that they got in the past was appropriate, but the melee was illogical.
They're so cool when they're charging, right? They're jumping and hitting. And
they look so happy. It kind of fits that I say that they're wearing plastic armor and plastic swords because, like, there's no way you'd be able to jump as high as they do wearing full metal armor. Like, they're going for the full Kobe dunk, but looks like he's going to have to get out of there now that Lombo's arrived. However, the sacrifice is elsewhere. 2 galleys already in the field for VortiX. And already starting to just pressure and shut down HuT's eco. You can see the difference here. It's an 8 eco lead for VortiX and 0 pressure onto his fishing economy.
Well, really interesting to see how VortiX is going to approach this, because he keeps making men-at-arms, and he is also making longbows, so he's gonna keep the pressure going. He's not thinking about castle. If it were me, for example, I would probably be 18 castle by now and getting the relics and then making knights. And I think that's a better approach to how this game is developing. But VortiX is VortiX. And when he's pressuring, he just doesn't stop.
I think the way I've heard a certain player describe it is he apes me. And it's very uncomfortable. And this feels like one of those games. He understands that he's kind of gotten by the long curlies. He's not going to let go. And the cool thing about this build is if you don't necessarily take fights and lose man-arms, but that number keeps escalating, Castle Age will eventually come. And when it does, VortiX is going to have 25 or 30 men-at-arms that are beefy enough to just begin diving the main base.
Yeah, I agree. Like, the moment he gets them on veteran plus the ironclad upgrade, they just take 1 damage from the town center.
It's absurd, and it's getting pretty ridiculous already. The villagers caught out. That's it. HuT, he's had enough. This has been an infuriating experience. Mirror matchups are his curse, as is VortiX. A 2-0 win. A quick wipe of the Australian from the September Weekly Sunday.
Some really good timings from VortiX, and I think HuT was expecting this, but he didn't expect an instant Barak, because VortiX went Barak instantly, and he was gathering from straggler trees, which made the timing hit a lot faster than it should hit.
Yeah, I think that's a transition we've seen, or conversion point compared to old builds we've seen out of a lot of players at the moment, is understanding that early aggression is being rewarded bigger than before. People are being less greedy. I think we've seen some Mongol players that, for example, forgo the Uvu to get like a unit out first to try and block, say, a dock or some greedy eco play. And similarly here, as you highlighted, the Rax instantly, no hesitation, even though he knows he's sacrificing the docks, because you could argue that there's a risk associated, but in VortiX's mind, he has the right approach, which is he's playing to win. Either he takes the lead because HuT hasn't built a rack straight away, or HuT has built a racks and they're on even ground still.